Imagine two 75-year-olds. One enjoys energetic walks through a park, backed by financial security. The other navigates chronic illness, confined to a narrow hallway. We tend to look at such vastly different outcomes and search for a single explanation. We assume one made a brilliant financial decision or had an incredibly lucky break, while the others simply lacked willpower or made a singular catastrophic mistake. Cumulative advantage and disadvantage theory points to a completely different mechanism. Human life rarely operates like a sudden lottery. Instead, it behaves as a slow-moving chain reaction, where every single event directly influences the probability of the next. By tracking the entire human lifespan from birth to death, this theory reveals that major inequalities do not appear out of nowhere. They are the sum total of thousands of microscopic, invisible experiences adding together over decades. To understand the massive gap separating our two 75-year-olds, we have to stop looking for a dramatic turning point. We have to rewind the clock to the very beginning. Consider identical twin brothers, James and Daniel. At birth, they share the exact same baseline of health, intelligence, and potential. By age 6, a slight environmental divergence occurs. James is enrolled in an exceptionally well-funded primary school. Daniel attends a school with overcrowded classrooms and strained resources. This diagram illustrates a positive feedback loop in early development. James's early support helps him grasp basic concepts, breeding confidence. Better performance draws further resources, accelerating the loop. Daniel experiences the opposite. Overcrowding breeds struggle and doubt, causing withdrawal. This lack of resources solidifies into a false identity, believing he is bad at math. Jump forward to adolescence, and the results of these compounding cycles are highly visible. James enters advanced placement classes, while Daniel, discouraged, drops out entirely. Society looks at these teenagers and labels James as intelligent and Daniel as unmotivated. This entirely mistakes the mechanical accumulation of an environment for a difference in innate human value. As individuals move into early adulthood, a concept known as timing and accumulation takes over. An opportunity or advantage secured at age 18 has decades of runway to compound, whereas the exact same advantage gained at 40 yields a fraction of the long-term impact. This visualization maps how these advantages cross over into completely different domains of life. Higher education triggers a cascade towards stable employment, higher income, and reliable healthcare, extending physical longevity. Meanwhile, Daniel faces compounding setbacks, where financial stress directly degrades physical health, severing his connections to future stability. It is one interconnected snowball. Sociologist Robert K. Merton described the specific engine driving this momentum as the Matthew effect, the phenomenon where initial success directly breeds the resources necessary for further success. The Matthew effect isolates the engine of opportunity, explaining how a highly cited researcher receives even more grant money. Cumulative advantage and disadvantage theory is the entire vehicle, tracking how those feedback loops operate across the full human lifespan. By middle age, the extreme disparities in health and wealth we observe are rarely the result of independent, isolated adult choices. They are the unavoidable momentum of a chain reaction that has been running for decades. This mathematical model represents a difficult reality regarding human effort and meritocracy. Imagine two markers as cyclists on a hill. If both apply the exact same energy, the gap between them remains completely locked. To catch up, the disadvantaged cyclist cannot just match the effort ahead. They must exert geometrically higher energy to close the distance. Judging human success by comparing the final outcomes of two individuals fails to account for this math. Equal effort does not produce equal results when people begin their race from entirely unequal starting lines. Returning to the two 75-year-olds we met at the beginning, their massive disparity is no longer a mystery. It is the mathematical conclusion of compounding loops that ran uninterrupted for a lifetime. This theory outlines structural probability, not absolute destiny. Human agency still matters. An unexpected trauma can derail a privileged trajectory, just as extreme perseverance or targeted mentorship can alter a disadvantaged one. But relying on exceptions presents a critical problem for how society attempts to reduce inequality. By the time we offer interventions and policy solutions during adulthood, the snowball has already been rolling for 30 years. Mathematically, it is often too late to stop the momentum. Correcting these feedback loops requires reaching the starting line. High-quality preschool, childhood nutrition programs, and early mentorship alter trajectories before the environment solidifies into permanent disadvantage. Imagine two books. Every year, life writes another chapter. One receives careful editing, where helpful notes are added and errors are corrected early, allowing the story to improve. The other accumulates unchecked mistakes, making every subsequent chapter harder to read. We are not defined by a single climactic chapter, but by the relentless, irreversible accumulation of every page written before it.